last time on Oz Hour?
Okay, last time on Oz Hour, they all met up with each other and were like, hi, I'm this person and I'm this person. And then they got Belina from her little cockfight thingy. And then the army with Ozma and everyone decided, oh, we need to go find the Nome King and get his shit and see what's up. So they decide to go, and they encounter a big hammering man that almost kills Seesaw or Sawhorse, Sawhorse, and then they find the Nome King and they talk with him and they try to get the family back of Ev and end up having to choose these ornaments or whatever, and if anyone gets one wrong, then they have a chance to not get the family back. It's a whole thing. Okay, I'm done.
Hi there, and welcome to Oz Hour, the only place where you can hear everything you never knew about the wonderful and strange land of Oz.
That's right. With the help of some alcohol, we will be discussing each of the 14 books in L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz series.
Today, we will be continuing with Book 3, Ozma of Oz, covering chapters 12 through 16.
We are your hosts, Blake Stone
and Wyatt Swingham.
And joining us is our resident Oz initiate, Hannah Aguirre.
Hello, it's me. Not Mario, Hannah. That was confusing.
See, without the visual, people would be confused and think that you were Mario. I'm glad that you told us.
It's a me, Hannah Aguirre. So Hannah just played last time on, where she recapped what happened last time on Oz Hour. How long did it take her?
That was 58 seconds.
Okay, 58 seconds to cover it. The goal is a minute. That's awesome.
I will say...
Also, you missed very little. What's that way?
For the first time ever, I will come out in Hannah's defense and say that the structure of the episodes up front in the series, a little bit longer per episode. So, it was a hard target to say 1 minute. Granted, it took her a little longer than necessary to say this episode's recap, but it was still good.
If you think about it, this book is a little bit like... Well, not necessarily slow moving, but we've very much seen like 2 locations in the first 12 chapters.
Yeah, that's true.
We also almost saw Australia, but agreed.
True.
Sometimes I was not able to believe how much Dorothy and her gang in the first book were walking.
It's true.
It was like, you guys are like walking around a country.
Yeah.
Several countries, right?
Yeah.
Technically.
Well, the countries of Oz.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Blister Village over here. Well, so the only things you missed, honestly, are that they're going to rescue the royal family of Ev from the Nome King, who's holding them enslaved as ornaments in this palace. You kind of touched on it in the end, but I didn't really like the way you introduced it. It was kind of... It was kind of dismissive.
Yeah, I panicked several times, maybe.
Also, I don't know if you mentioned that the Nome King has like an indestructible army, and that's why Ozma's like, all right, pal, how are we going to move forward here? And he's like, how about a game? And that's how we are.
Oh, that's right. He's the Riddler.
He's the Riddler.
I remember.
He's the Riddler.
I wasn't that drunk last time.
Well, before we started recording, Wyatt went ahead and whipped up some cocktails. So what are we enjoying, Wyatt?
Tonight, we are going to be drinking a Gnomish coffee, which is a play on a Spanish coffee. Well, it is a Spanish coffee, but we're calling it that. And it is going to be...
Mine's not on fire, though.
Is our Spanish coffee served on fire?
Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Well, I will say you're correct. We do not have flaming cocktails, but we are going to enjoy them. And you out there, listeners, can find the recipe on our Instagram at Oz Hour Podcast.
All right. Shall we slurp?
Yes. Hopefully it's not super hot still or flaming. Cold, actually, but good.
Yeah. Iced coffee.
That would be good. Ice.
Quite tepid. I really like the flavor profile you got.
No,
in
that
there.
shit's good.
Well, everyone, you better be drinking along with us then. Chapter 12, The 11 Guesses.
So you'll remember that we're in the throne room of the Nome King, and that Ozma is allowed to go into the rooms of the palace and select different ornaments. And if she thinks it's one of the royal family of Ev, she just has to put her hand on it and say Ev.
This really left us on a cliffhanger.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry about that.
Damn.
So if she guesses correctly on any of her guesses. If she gets one right, then her and that person get to come out. Then any of her friends in the good guy gang can go back in, and they also get 11 guesses, and everyone gets to guess.
And there's 28 people, right? Or like
There's 30 of them.
Yeah, because
30.
there's 26 officers plus everyone else.
Yeah,
so it's
32.
many people.
okay.
But if anyone doesn't get any at all, then that person turns into an ornament in the palace.
Oh, that's
and then the
right.
next person gets to go.
Yeah. But also this will all like it's confusing to read, it's confusing to explain,
Yeah.
but once we're like explaining literally the first person to go in, it's going to be extremely clear how the magic
How it
works.
happens.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
pretty
So-
straightforward. But
It
like,
sounds
okay,
confusing.
Wait,
Dorothy.
who's going first? Ozma?
So they haven't
we're
even
not there
agreed yet.
Oh,
Because
okay.
Dorothy is like, do not take that deal. No.
Yeah, Ozma is like
It is a
thinking
little
about
risky.
it. Well, that's what Dorothy says. She's like, "Oh, you better not do it." And Ozma's like, "Well, there's 11 guesses. Like, I can probably get one, so like we might as well try." And just as long as if they could just save one of the royal family members, like she's like, "Okay, I'll get at least one of them." And then like
They just
that's
need
great.
a rightful ruler back on the throne
Yeah.
of Ev.
Oh,
And
I
ideally,
see, I
ideally,
see.
she wants to save them all. Like, obviously, that's like their goal. But she's like, with those
Damn.
odds, like, what are the chances that we're not going to do it? But Dorothy's like, what if you don't? What if you don't?
Yeah, what if you
choose
don't?
one?
And then a
And
bunch
you're
of your
statue.
you're a statue,
Or
and then a
whatever.
bunch of your army are a statue.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone is like tripping, but Ozma's like, look, we came all this way to rescue this woman and
Is
her
there not
children.
another deal we can take?
They didn't
Set
they're
me up
not-
with another
they're
deal.
not really
One that's a
exploring.
little less.
Yeah, they should really be
I
exploring
can't
other
shop
options.
around.
I mean, the Gnome King was really clear. The Gnome King was like not having it. Like Ozma already agreed up front before she kind of threatened him. She was like, "I'll give you 100 ornaments for each of them. Like I'll do anything." And he wasn't. So he wants to play a game.
That's
So
true.
I
And
get
he's
it.
like, and he even, I might have said, like, fair deal for a fair deal. Like,
yeah.
I made a fair deal. You're trying to renege on it.
He's
Okay,
into
let's
that
do another
shit.
thing.
Like,
He's a fair man.
It's
Yeah.
interesting.
Or he'd have you believe.
Also, so at this point, Ozma is just like, okay, like I'm gonna do it. We have to do it. And it would be cowardly not to stop. And when she said that, it made me realize the cowardly lion and the tiger are there. I haven't thought about them in a
Yeah.
long time. I'm not visualizing them, but
no.
they're
the
still
last
every.
thing I remember them
everyone's
riding
there.
people or letting people ride them.
Yeah, just
Yeah.
complaining about being tired.
Yeah.
But anyway, so they're also there. Everyone's there. But Ozma goes in. So she goes in. There's like a door opens magically. Like the Gnome King kind of like leads her over the wall. A door opens and then she's gone.
Yeah, it says he's so fat that like he couldn't even really get out of his chair to do this, but he ended up.
But like in a cute way.
Yeah.
Like he's round. He's like a little gumdrop.
I'm picturing like his little
Ew.
legs can't reach the
Oh my
floor, and
God.
he's like turning around in it.
Ew, what if is he like made of glass?
Well,
I don't think so.
he's okay. The illustrations, he actually looks like a Lorax or something,
Oh,
but the
okay.
book kind of describes them as like shadows of rock. Like it's so confusing.
Yeah, it's a little conflicting between the description and the official like illustrations from the first editions, but either way, but yeah, he leads her over, like a doorway opens and Ozma goes in and the door closes behind her. And what she sees is amazing.
Opulent.
It's insane. Like
Gnome
she's
King owns everything.
he does yeah,
He
he
literally
owns everything.
owns
But like she's like even and this is Ozma. Like granted she hasn't been queen for a long time, but like the Emerald City is no joke, you know, like they have
Emerald City's encrusted with jewels.
they have unlimited resources and knickknacks and bric-a-brac.
Okay, but we are talking rugs. We are talking beautiful wooden furniture with colorful cushions.
Soaring arched ceilings with velvet tapestries hanging below them and thick velvet carpets.
And the whole
Great
place
taste.
is lit with this like rose-colored like witch light that comes
there's
from
no actual
nowhere.
lights. It says that comes from nowhere in particular. It's just but it's
What?
pleasant. It's not scary. It's just like, oh, what a
Why
nice
can't it
ambient
just come
lighting.
from somewhere?
I know. Yeah, it could have been anything.
Why couldn't it have been glowing jewels
Yeah,
since
just
the
give me
gnomes literally
something.
make that?
But it's magic. Like it's magic. It's,
It's magic,
beautiful. It's
okay.
insane. And she's on a mission. She's there, but she for a minute is like, oh my god, like,
Yeah, and
this
I mean,
is incredible.
the doors close and she's like, I'm 100% solo in the Gnome
yeah.
King's apartments right
Nothing is moving. She is alone.
now. It's
scary.
kind of creepy.
That would be creepy.
So he's got ornaments literally everywhere. Any flat surface is fair game.
Yeah, there's shelves, tables, cabinets, drawers, mantles.
The minute I would see that, I would be nervous. I'd be there's I'm
so
fucked.
much. There's everything.
How are you going
rooms
to do
and
this?
rooms.
I just don't feel like I have the best. This is why I don't gamble.
Exactly. And she only has 11 guesses and nothing to go off of.
Why did she expect it wouldn't be like
What
this?
did you think it was going to be?
Why did she think for 1 second he wouldn't be fucking Smaug sitting on a pile?
Granted, the Nome King is like, he's pretty pleasant to them. He's nice. He's like, okay, how about a little game? Like, it almost
manipulative.
It is, yeah, because it almost sounds like he's setting them up like, okay, fine. Like, like he even says, like, I can't say no to you if you really beg. Okay, how about a little game? It sounds like he's about to give up. And then she gets in there and she's like, there's probably 20,000 things in here. And I have 11 guesses.
He groomed the response from her, honestly. Like, I don't think he was actually going to give up. I think he
he wanted them.
I think he manipulated the conversation.
Well, and we'll get there. There's a lot to unpack too. But
yeah, Ozma's looking around and she's like, oh fuck, like this is impossible.
He seems like the smart. I mean, I don't even know if he's a villain or not, but like he's like the smartest villain we've dealt
I'm getting
with.
villain.
He is,
Are you not getting villain?
No, I guess you're right.
Well,
yeah.
Hannah we don't all know how the
people.
story ends.
Yeah,
well, I'm
just
talking
don't-
about up to this point.
Because when I think of the king, I think of him more being of this bad guy, but like also keeping people captive, against their will is fucked up.
He's doing
And
a lot
that
of-
is villain vibes.
It's like
but
immoral.
He's
yeah.
manipulating
immoral.
me. He's getting to me. I'm like, ooh, he's actually.
He gave Hannah the
He's
Stockholm
smart.
syndromes.
He's a smart guy.
But he is smart, which is scary because it seems like he really is like he's powerful, he's smart, and he's kind of nice. Like they're not like really that scared of him, even though he's doing these things that are like obviously kind of fucked up.
Yeah, and a little
Ozma's
scary.
like-
and
Yeah.
also showing his army.
Yeah, that
Right.
was
He's
big.
gross.
Yeah.
But Ozma's like thinking about how like, oh, he was so kind, he was so giggly and smiley. She's like, this motherfucker just trapped me and everyone I hold dear.
Yeah.
Like we're
She's
all
like,
fucked.
Yeah, she's like, oh, that's why he was chuckling at us.
No.
Like not because he's kind-hearted, but because he's manipulative and
I'm
evil.
shocked
was
that
laughing
she
at us.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Dorothy has dealt with witches and stuff like that before.
Yeah.
So has Tip.
Yeah, true.
Yeah.
His whole fucking life, actually.
Yeah.
But how did she get fooled by this dude?
I'm mad at her.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of upset.
yeah. But that's where we are. And now
Oh,
she has to make
I'm
her
praying
first
for her.
guess.
Well,
Yeah.
she's gonna be in other books.
I mean, she's
well,
not
yeah.
one.
Oh, what makes you think
Who
that?
told you that?
I don't know.
This book is called Ozma of Oz. It's as good as a
I just don't want her
headstone.
to be a statue. I don't
That's
want her to be
true.
a statue.
But yeah, she's not one to back down from a fucking challenge.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's not. And so she's going through, she's realizing like, okay, there's nothing here that looks alive. Nothing looks different. Everything looks extremely different. There's things of different sizes, colors, like materials. But she sees a candelabra and it has 10 branches and she thinks, okay, 10 children of, the royal family. Like, so she just goes ahead and touches that and says Ev and nothing happens.
One incorrect guess out of 11.
Yeah.
Okay, only 10 more left.
And Blake, what does she see next?
So she keeps walking around. She comes across a China lamb. Shout out to the dainty China country.
I know.
Hey. So they do
and
come back.
Well, she thinks like, okay, lamb, like child, like, okay. So she touches it and she says Ev, and it stays exactly the same. So
Yeah.
2 guesses wrong out of 11.
Yeah, so she's down to 9 guesses. And what she basically realizes, she looks around and she's like, I can't possibly make an informed guess. Like, nothing she can do is going to get her, like, oh, well, I can figure it out this way. It's like there's nothing. So she just closes her eyes.
Well, after losing.
Oh,
'cause she-
yeah.
3 guesses, 4 guesses, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah, so she
None
has
of
one
them were
guess
right.
left.
She's
She
got
is
one
down to her
guess left.
last guess.
Oh my gosh.
But then she closes her eyes. She just reaches out her hands and she walks forward until she touches something. She doesn't even like open her eyes. It's like it's on a table. And she just like touches it and says Ev. And you know what happens?
Can I read the quote? Do
Yeah.
You have the quote?
Yeah, no, please read the
Okay.
quote.
I'm like getting tears in my eyes.
So she reaches out to like something on a table. She has no idea what.
Uh-huh.
Says Ev. And then the rooms were quite empty of life after that. The Nome King had gained a new ornament, for upon the edge of the table rested a pretty grasshopper that seemed to have been formed from a single emerald. It was all that remained of Ozma of Oz.
No. No.
The Gnome
that's
King.
Not forever.
The Gnome King smiles and says, "Next."
I'm crying.
I'm like tears. I'm getting tears actually. Okay.
So, like,
what
everyone-
the fuck?
So-
are they able to do something?
So immediately everyone's like, "Oh my god, did she fail?" And he's like, "It seems so, but the next person can have 12 guesses."
And they don't even know what she picked.
No, they don't, or what she is. They don't know anything.
But if they, let's say they pick her ornament, does she come back?
Yeah, so he says, "Hey, you know what? Now, like, this wasn't part of the original deal, but he's like, you know what? If you can, like, you get 12 guesses now. Whoever goes next, you get 12 guesses. So you can, in theory,
A kind
still
king.
liberate everyone. Yeah, exactly. So it's still, but right, it makes you think. It
But he
still
knows-
seems,
He knows that there's so many ornaments. It's very unlikely
Yeah.
it's gonna happen.
it's
Yeah.
still insanely unlikely.
So the Tin Woodman's like, I'll go. I'm the commander of Ozma's army. So
yeah,
Oh,
wish
I
me
should
luck.
go
Next, and the Scarecrow says, "Thank you, and be careful, old friend."
That's the last time you're ever gonna see him. I can guarantee you that.
So the Tin Woodman goes in, and the rock closes up behind him. Same thing. The Gnome King helps him in, and the Gnome King is just smoking his pipe, and everyone's sitting there, and it's a pretty long wait. They're all super scared, super sad that Ozma's an ornament, and then they're like, "Fuck, we're all gonna be ornaments." Like they could be, because right now Ozma failed. No one knows what it's like in there. They for all they know, Ozma just got really unlucky, and the Tin Woodman's gonna be totally fine. So. But then the Gnome
Anything
King,
can happen.
yeah, the Gnome King has something to say, and that is where we end chapter 12, which was the 11 guesses. And Blake, what would you guess that would be called?
Ooh, a good question. So after our conversation in the last episode about how I thought like it was weird that Ozma was leading the charge like to the Gnome King's lair, I'm gonna call that chapter "A Queen Should Never Go First."
Oh, chapter 13, the Gnome King laughs.
So everyone's sitting there just like devastated, and they're trapped in this creepy palace. They know they're just like taking turns going to turn into ornaments, like
And
the
now
fucking
it's like
40 wolves or something.
They don't even have like a leader. I mean, they have like
Ozma's-
she's the leader, right?
She's the wisest one. Like she's the
Yeah.
smart. Even though she made the worst decision of all of them today, she is still the smartest one in theory. All of a sudden, though, the Gnome King shrieks, "Ha ha ha! He he! Ho ho ho!" And he says, "Your friend the Tin Woodman just got transformed into the funniest thing imaginable.
Zoe Mama.
No one could ever think he would make such an amusing ornament." And everyone is just like
Shut up!
sobbing. Yeah.
And then he goes,
Not the
Next.
Tin Woodsman.
yeah.
Not Nick Chopper.
R.I.P. Nick Chopper.
No.
So one of the generals just starts sobbing, and the Scarecrow's like, "What are you even crying
That's
for?"
me.
The Jennifer,
Who the hell's Jennifer?
the general is like, he's like, "Oh, he owed me 6 weeks of back pay, so I just hate to lose him," which is just a stupid joke.
Yeah, it's a
I
stupid-
only include it because it's a stupid joke.
Well, and it's a good segue into the Scarecrow being like, "Oh, okay, you're sad he's gone? Go find him then. You're next. Get in there."
And he's like, "No, I won't." He was like, "I really want to. You have to believe me. I want to, but I won't." And
Scarecrow's mad.
well, the Gnome King is like, "Okay, like you don't have to go, but like if you don't go, I'm gonna throw you into the furnace." And he's like, "What? Of course I'll go. Where's the door? Where is it?" And he's like
"Oh,
scrambling
me?
around.
Wait, you thought I wasn't going in? No, I'm definitely
It's so
going
stupid.
He's like, you thought
No.
wrong.
Yeah.
in.
And-
So the Gnome King leads the general into the palace, and no one knows what the general did. But after not much time at all, the Gnome King tells him that he's ready for his next victim.
Yeah. So then a commander went
I
in.
hate the no. Okay, I'm. He almost got me for a sec, but I hate him.
Yeah. Everybody rewind like 6 minutes when Hannah was like, "I don't know if he's a villain, but like he's so smart."
He's smart.
But so then he's like next, and then a commander goes in, and pretty soon all 26 of the officers have gone in and been turned into ornaments. But there is good news. the Gnome King ordered refreshments.
Yeah, it's been hours, so he's
Yeah.
like, "Come on, bring in the refreshments."
That's
Oh,
another thing
how
is
nice.
it has been hours because like everyone who goes in, no one's in a hurry to get turned into an ornament.
Yeah.
What if they all just touch the candelabra first? Like, can you imagine if they all just touch that? Like, they all do the same things. But we'll never know.
But the Ozians are like, "Oh, thank you for the food." I mean, Dorothy eats what, like 6 cakes.
Yeah,
drinks
Dorothy
some.
loves to eat.
She drinks some delicious coffee.
Yes, and speaking of coffee in the Gnome Kingdom, the coffee is made of baked and ground up clay that was actually very refreshing and not at all muddy, and which is also the reason we are having gnomish coffee
Yeah,
today.
that's what I thought about my drink tonight.
Oh, refreshing and not muddy.
Not
Not
muddy
muddy at
at
all.
all. You're right.
It's got the Oz Hour seal of approval.
There we go, folks. Hannah approves.
So all that are left are Dorothy, Scarecrow, TikTok, Cowardly Lion, Hungry Tiger, Sawhorse, Bellina. That's it.
Yeah, that's it. Only 10.
I know, and it sounded like a lot, but let's keep in mind
but
that like
that's
some
all.
of them are chickens and
Yeah.
sawhorses.
Yeah, it's like not like full humans, I guess. I mean,
Everyone's full of cake. It's getting late. Like people are literally finding places to just like curl up and sleep because they're waiting for whoever's in there to like make their guess. Like it's been all day.
And Bellina finds this little cubby in the throne because the throne's like made of stone, like it's kind of roughly carved. She finds like this little like not tunnel, but like a little hole underneath it. She crawls in. She can't really hear anything. It's really dark, and she just curls up and goes to bed.
Bellina,
Yeah.
you
And
deserve rest.
She does, and the tiger and the lion are sleeping too. But then the Gnome King calls next.
Yeah, and the private, he goes in, he says goodbyes to Dorothy and the Scarecrow.
He shakes hands. They've been talking, for hours at this
Yeah.
point, getting to know each other.
And he's the only one in that army who I feel like I care about.
Yeah, honestly, I just feel like he's a little misunderstood. Like,
Yeah, and he's probably really cute.
yeah, I mean, he's a private.
He's Harry Styles in that one movie.
Oh my God, Dunkirk.
Dunkirk.
Also, though, it's interesting because as we've seen, like the officers are all cowards, but like I'm sure they all reacted like that first officer did. Like they're like, I don't want to go, and then it's Gnome King calls next. He just stands up and he goes. The private should be the general or the war secretary or something.
You know, the
He
fact that
deserves
they
it.
all went before him makes me feel a little different about them.
Yeah.
Because before
Yeah,
I
they
was
should
like,
have sent him.
well, no. I feel almost like it was fucked up that they're just all, charging over this guy. But they were like, when it comes down to it, we're going to go first.
You know what's ironic,
That's
though?
what I find like, I'm like, okay, that's kind of cool.
I feel like earlier they were like, well, if you get rid of, or like, if there's no private, then we won't have anyone to command. So maybe they were like, well,
so
if the
it's
private
selfish.
goes in, then we can't command anyone. I don't know. I'm probably reading too much
Okay.
into it.
That's true.
But I don't
Honestly-
like the officers, so I'm not willing to just accept an interpretation that's
Yeah,
favorable.
I don't
I
really
see,
want
I
to
see.
give them any grace.
yeah, let's not give him credit.
Yeah. No grace.
But the private, he takes his sweet ass time in the palace apartments because he's not in any hurry to be turned into an ornament. You
Yeah.
know, so it's taking him forever, and the Gnome King is getting pissed off and impatient and like
Oh, shit.
cranky.
Yeah, he's just like, I love ornaments, but I'm tired. but he's like, okay, once the private's done,
Bitch, this was the deal. You never set a time limit.
right?
Right.
Exactly, though. And to be
And
fair,
everyone else should be upset that you're stealing all their friends.
Yeah.
You being upset about a little time being wasted is bullshit.
Yeah.
well, he says we're going to bed. He was like, once the private is turned into an ornament, we're all going to go to
Some
bed
rest.
and get some rest. Yeah, and we'll pick back up in the morning, folks,
Oh my
which
God,
is just crazy.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's
thank
apparent-
God that some people can sleep before they go and make their
Well,
decision.
Dorothy's
Yeah.
like, is it late? And the Gnome King, because they're underground,
Yeah.
And the Gnome King is like, yeah, it's past midnight, and we may not have a sky down here, but we still have to sleep, okay? And it's just like, oh my God,
Yeah.
relax.
But then the private gets turned into an ornament, and the Gnome King calls his steward, and he comments that the steward comments that he really shouldn't have stayed up so late. The steward's like the head of his like staff, basically, like his domestic staff, like the head butler. or
Seems
whatever.
like his domestic partner, the way they bicker.
Yeah. He's like, you shouldn't have stayed up so late. He'll be cross in the morning. Is literally what he says. But the steward shows Dorothy and the animals and all the animate objects to their sleeping or staying quarters.
Yeah, all the meat people get like a nice bed and stuff.
Yeah, everyone else just kind of hangs out. The scarecrow or the sawhorse gets put like in the hallway for some reason. He just like stands out there.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird.
It's a little sad.
It's a little
like,
creepy.
the
I get he doesn't sleep, but you don't have to do him
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
that.
you can, like,
give him
go-
a private room.
Go
Yeah.
do something.
Yeah.
yeah.
I just don't like when, because this was my issue before. He just sits there.
Yeah,
Go do. You have so much free time. If I didn't have to sleep, if I had 24 hours to every single day, the shit I would do. I mean,
yeah.
I would probably play a lot of video games,
can-
like watch
That's the
shows
thing,
and stuff.
honestly, you can
But
relax.
still, that
You
would
can
be
get
12
done.
more hours.
Learn a language.
Yeah.
Do a puzzle, Scarecrow.
Come on,
Yeah.
figure it out.
But yeah, the Scarecrow's actually really depressed right now because he's lost his good friend, the Tin Woodman. And after all,
his
after all their
fuck buddy.
Yes. They've been on super dangerous adventures, and now this like little game of chess they're playing, like now he's
Yeah.
lost his friend forever. When they've risked their lives together, like he just feels like stupid and sad, honestly.
He also thinks it's cruel that like the Gnome King laughed so much at whatever he was turned into because he's like Nick Chopper's pride would be hurt by
He
that.
did make a point about that one
Yeah,
for some
it was
reason.
actually
Like, what did he
strange.
even? He must have felt a way about him already.
It makes you wonder
Maybe.
because like what's the
What
point?
did when he meets people? Does he think what they would like? Does he think like when you meet people, you're like, oh, they're gonna be this type of person, or like you assume
Yeah.
what sign maybe they are. But you know what he does? He assumes what ornament they'll
Yeah.
be turned into. Like,
Yeah.
He saw Ozma and he was like, Emerald Grasshopper.
yeah, exactly. Like I'm gonna start doing that. That's kinda
Yeah.
cool.
What ornament are we?
I have to
So-
think about it.
All of a sudden, Dorothy storms in. She's sobbing, and she's like, "Where's Bellina? Has anyone seen Bellina?"
No. No one
one's seen
has.
her. They decide she's probably still out in the throne room, and like she's fine, she's
Yeah.
safe.
Oh yeah,
but-
didn't she crawl into a little hole?
Yeah, so
Yeah,
she
but
was
they
just
don't
forgotten.
know that.
Oh, they don't
It's just like when
know.
Henry went back to his bunk, and Dorothy was like, "Let me go into the sea." Like it's very.
Oh, and
that.
Uncle Henry. Yeah.
What did I say?
You said Henry, but I
Oh.
was like, I went to Boxcar Children, and I was like,
Oh.
Henry.
We only know him as Uncle. Last name Henry.
Yeah,
Hender's friends.
Hender's friends. But she's distressed. She tries to like go to the throne room, but the door's locked, and she's like, "Well, fuck, whatever. I'm just gonna go back to bed." And she goes and like lays in her little quarters.
And she's like, "I feel weird going to sleep since I'm gonna have plenty of time to rest once I'm an ornament for the rest of my life. But hey, I gotta sleep, I
I mean,
guess."
Dorothy's very good at accepting her fate.
I feel like I don't know. When I read that too, like my note is like Dorothy says basically like, "Oh, I'll get lots of sleep when I'm an ornament tomorrow," and it gives me very like I'll sleep in hell vibes.
It is honestly that's very her vibe though, because in
It
the beginning
is.
of the book, she was
Angsty.
in a chicken coop in the ocean, and she was just like,
felt
"Oh,
the same
oh,
way."
Dorothy Gale, look what you've gotten yourself
Yeah.
into." Like she is ready to meet her maker.
Yeah.
Honestly, I feel like she's very she's been in a lot of situations that are very abnormal to most people, but
And she always sleeps.
Yeah,
she's
Hannah.
she sleeps.
she's flying through the air with a hole in the bottom of her floor.
Who
Take
could
a
be
nap.
chiller than that?
You're afloat on the ocean in a fucking hurricane. Take a nap. You're waiting to go guess what a fucking ornament is to free the royal family. Well, guess what? She takes a nap, and that's how we end the chapter. And that is the end of chapter 13. The Gnome King laughs. And Blake, what would you call that?
I would call that chapter. I'm sorry, I'm still laughing at you. I would call that chapter 40 wolves, more like sitting ducks.
Chapter 14. Dorothy tries to be brave. But you can't always be brave in the
guess
Gnome
not.
King's lair.
So meanwhile, back in the throne room, the Gnome King is getting ready for bed. He's talking to his chief steward, who asks him how he could be such a fool to waste so much time on these people.
The Gnome King shrieks, and he's like, "How dare you call me a fool?"
What?
Yeah. And this wakes Bellina up. Because Bellina is within the throne.
We know where she is.
Everyone was looking for her, and she's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Yeah, so Bellina's like,
She's
let's
getting the tea.
eavesdrop.
Yeah,
Let's
she's
get some
just
tea.
chilling now. And the steward's like, "Well, you should have just turned them all into ornaments, like, all at once. Like, they would just be so much easier, and, like, you don't have to play this game." And the Gnome King is like, "It's so much more fun this way."
I like the game.
Yeah, so here we're like,
He
okay.
gets off.
Yeah, he does. He is getting off on this. under that big belt he wears.
Ew.
God knows.
But he's like, none of the Ozians are going to be able to guess correctly. Like,
Yeah,
they don't know. They will not know. I promise you.
Yeah, but not everyone there is Ozians.
Well,
That's true.
That's true. Some of them are from Kansas, and some of them are from wherever Belina's from.
Yeah, I was about to say that
Oh,
too.
yeah.
But the Nome King lets the chief steward in on a little secret.
Okay.
Yeah, he's like, okay, listen up. All the royal family are ornaments that are purple in color. And so they're like royal purple. And he's like, and they're the only purple things in there. Like, there are all sorts of different sizes and shapes. So, like, no one's going to really be able to figure that out. And
oh my God. And Belina's just like.
Belina chuckles from under the throne.
She's like, let me hear more.
So she's like, oh, you don't
Really
say
quiet.
it? So then the chief steward, I feel like he keeps accidentally like giving away super useful intel, and he's like, well, I still think it's foolish, and it's more foolish than you turning all the Ozians into green ornaments too. Like,
Just like,
okay,
fucking saying shit, I
like,
guess.
give away the fucking farm, bro.
And the Nome King, though, he thinks he's so clever for turning all the Emerald City people into to things that are green. And apparently he had nothing green before, because he's like, and besides, I had nothing green anyway, so it just makes sense.
Like, how in the hell was there no green or purple bric-a-brac?
It
Like,
makes you
He
wonder.
has hundreds of thousands of things. Like I said earlier, he's sitting on a pile like Smaug.
Yeah, there's pictures.
And how would you not like think? Because if I was in there, I would think of any possible thing.
Yeah.
Like, how would you not think Emerald? I don't know. I'm not in the situation, so I can't really say.
Yeah.
But like Emerald City, and
It's-
seeing
Yeah.
something that's
And
an
they're
emerald.
all emerald. Ooh.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, if I walked in, I mean, yes, the same way that Ozma was like, okay, 10 arms on the candelabra,
Ozma,
maybe
yeah,
that makes
is a
sense.
little-
So it's like, okay, if anyone else went in there and thought, okay, what is someone from the Emerald City turned into? And they look and they're like, let's see, 4 people have went in, none have come out, and now I see 4 things that are green. Only 4?
Yeah, like
Come on.
But,
like,
But how
no one's
far?
thinking
How
that.
far in the room could they be?
so also there are many rooms.
and also
Many rooms, huge.
where you guess wrong isn't necessarily where you end
Yeah,
up.
as we'll find out
Oh,
shortly.
so it's
you just
really
end up,
randomized.
You end up
Yeah.
amongst the treasure. You don't necessarily end up where
you
you're standing.
blink out and end up somewhere else.
Yeah, this is pretty hard. I feel
It
like
is.
even if you
It's
did,
impossible.
Well,
But
I mean,
if you guess a single one right, then you won't be turned into a like ornament though.
but then you can keep making
yeah,
guesses.
you can keep making guesses till you're out, but then you survive. So,
And like,
maybe they all survive.
do
Maybe
all
they're
of,
Okay.
do all of these creatures and beings see purple the exact same way? Like,
That's a good question for
it's
like
so weird.
colorblind,
Oh,
or just a
I
human
guess
who's
that's true.
colorblind.
Or a
Yeah, what
human
about
who's
chickens?
colorblind.
Are they colorblind?
I don't know. Well,
Their
maybe we'll
eyes
find
are all
out.
black.
Yeah.
But okay, so then I don't know, like, if it's supposed to be comedy or if like it's just bad writing. But the chief steward just keeps giving away like proprietary information, and he's like, okay, you do what you want. You're the king. But when all of this bites you in the ass, don't come running to me, because if I had that magic belt that allows you to work transformations and also gives you so much other power, I'd be wiser and better king than you. And it's like, okay, so you just like
So
gave
I'm
us
gonna-
everything.
I'm gonna take
Yeah.
that belt.
Yeah.
I'm gonna take that belt. Now we'll have a rug, and now we'll have a belt.
so dumb.
And the Gnome King is just like, shut up. Next time you talk to me like that, I'm going to send you to work down in the furnaces, and I'm just going to pick anyone else to be my steward.
There's probably a
they're
line
sleeping
of
together.
gnomes.
Or they used to sleep
Yeah.
with each other.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
used to sleep with each
That's how we
other,
got
and like
there,
the steward
and now they're
is kind
tired.
of bitter about it.
Yeah, and she's like grossed out by it.
Yeah.
I can tell.
But the Gnome King's like, okay, dude, like, take me to my chambers. I'm going to bed.
Yeah, but wake me up early so that I can join my transformations in the morning.
Yeah.
You could do it anytime.
And it continues. The chief steward's like, so what color are you going to make the Kansas girl? And the king's like, I guess I'll turn her into a gray ornament. Ouch.
Ooh,
Yeah.
very dreary.
And how does he know about Kansas? Very dreary lane. But then he's like, oh, and that TikTok and the Scarecrow, I'm going to turn them into something gold because they're so ugly in real life.
He's a
Which
little bitch.
It's kind of true for the Scarecrow, but I imagine TikTok being kind of pretty just because he's so like big and copper or
Yeah.
bronze or whatever.
Oh, you're so big in copper and bronze or whatever. Ooh.
Get inside
Yeah,
me.
I like TikTok. I like the wind up feature.
So Belina's kind of eavesdropping still, and she like hears that the voices are receding. They've left the room and continue down the hall. So she fixes like some ruffled tail feathers, and she just like tucks her head under her wing, and goes back to sleep.
No.
Okay.
And love it to sleep.
Are there any? Everyone's still resting though. There's no guesses going on right
it's
now.
No, yeah,
like-
this is just the
Okay,
night.
okay.
It's
Like,
probably
oh, it's
been
still the night.
It's probably been like less than an hour since everyone went to their rooms.
Because the Gnome King
okay.
still hasn't gone to bed yet. Like all this is like
Oh.
I'm imagining like the steward leaves with everybody, comes back,
So
and
she's
when
like,
he
I'm about
enters,
to take a nice little sleep, and then I'm about to drop some
Yeah.
shit on some
She's
people.
like,
she's
I've
gonna
been
drop
sleeping
some
for
shit.
2 hours already.
Thank God. Oh my God.
So then we get a little flash forward, and it's the morning, and all the prisoners who are made of meat, they eat their food, and they come into the throne room. And the hungry tiger is just like, oh, I'm starving. Oh, like can I just go in and touch an ornament so I can just be turned into something because I'm so hungry.
Yeah, he's up to his same old antics.
Yeah.
Go ahead, go in there, and guess what? No one's gonna save you. And if they do, I hope they turn you back into an ornament because I fucking hate you.
Well, the Gnome King's like, didn't you just eat? And the tiger's like, well, I only had a bite.
Hannah, let's just get your opinion. Do you think this constitutes the description of a bite? He ate 17 bowls of porridge, a platter full of fried sausages, 11 loaves of bread, and 21 mince pies.
Honestly, this is me though.
I'm so hungry.
I'm like, well, yeah, I ate a little bit today. 17 bowls of porridge later. I'm like, yeah, I'm still hungry.
Literally,
What do we
okay.
have? Chicken? I'll take it.
This is very you being like, oh yeah, I had a shift meal, and then we're like, we made lasagna, and you're like, well, I'll try the lasagna.
Yeah, I'll put it on top of my shifty. That's fine.
But this is where we have a bit of guest trivia.
Ooh.
Hannah, this is going to be multiple choice.
Yes.
How many calories are in that meal?
Oh, the bite?
Yes. Again, that is 17 bowls of porridge, a platter full of fried sausage, 11 loaves of bread, and 21 mince pies. And I'm going to give you a little info about those.
Okay.
The porridge is a single serving, which is about a cup. So there's, 17 of those. The platter, I assumed, was 12 inches based on some information I looked up. And the sausages will be bratwurst, which was common in the U.S. at the time of the novel being written.
Okay.
The bread, I just looked up Wonder Bread. And mince pies, just think Sweeney Todd. They're just little meat pies.
Okay.
The worst pies in London.
And your yes, the worst pies in London. And your options are
Oh, that's right. Multiple
yes,
choice.
2,000. Do you have any guesses off the top?
Well, I'm feeling a little bit in the thousands range just because that sounds like what a normal person would eat in a whole day. And
That's-
calories for a regular person in a day is like 1,600, right?
Don't
yeah, it's
DM us,
like
we don't know.
2,000 is like the
Okay.
like
But yeah,
cap of average.
thousands is not hard to get into.
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the options are 2,500, 13,000, 22,000, or 30,000.
Okay. I'm going to say I was already feeling like the 20, or like the 2000s.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just going to say the 2,200.
Right, 2,500.
Or 20. No, wait, was there
22,000.
Oh, 22,000.
Oh, 22,000?
Yeah, so the options are 2,500,
Okay.
13,000, 22,000, or 30,000.
Oh, okay. Well then in that case I'm gonna say the 3,000. Wait, was that an option?
No. There's
No, the B.
okay, 13,000.
Oh wait, no, the A.
2,500.
Yeah.
Okay. Final answer?
Whoa. I'm
a
gonna
yes.
say an A.
Incorrect. The correct answer is 30,000 calories.
Hannah, you just talked about how the average person eats 2,000 calories a day.
Okay, well I thought porridge was like low calorie.
Porridge, 11 loaves of bread, a tray
Oh,
of
11
sausages.
21 meat
What are you
pies.
talking about, you psycho?
Yeah. I will tell you the bread alone is 15,400 calories based on 11 loaves of, again, Wonder Bread. Yeah.
What is she doing? She means 22,000.
It is-
No,
it
she's
is-
saying 2,500. She means 22,000.
It is second only to the mince pies, which 21 mince pies should be about
That is
six.
crust.
Okay.
That is gravy.
You know,
That's-
I fucked up because I really was only thinking about the porridge for some reason. And I know that you said other things, but I ignored it for some reason. I was like,
You're like porridge. I'm in a
2,000.
Three Bears kind of mindset this Monday evening.
Based on not Food Network, but Love and Lemons, I want to say is the food blog I looked at, but the porridge alone would be 5,900 calories. But I liked where your headspace was at. You were at least going with something. But yeah,
So
I
the,
was.
the other 2,000 is they ate a turkey sandwich or something.
Yeah. So yeah, so many calories, which is just insane. But I could not find a clear answer on how many calories a tiger needed in a day. So it was very. I found a source from the 1960s that said they needed like 8,000 calories a day, but that's so outdated. I really just couldn't
Well,
use
the
it.
thing is, they're predators, so it's not like they eat
Yeah,
every
they
single
eat
day.
once a week.
So
Yeah.
I'm just like, this is more on just like my hate for this hungry fucking tiger thing. But like, he talks about like never eating, but then he's out here eating porridge and bread and shit. So you don't have to eat like alive babies.
Well,
I think that's the thing is like he wants like
He'd prefer.
he wants blood.
Well,
but
I wonder
he
what-
doesn't want to kill.
He's
But
like a
that's-
vampire that's like not ready to fully commit
He's a-
being a vampire.
He's
He's like,
colon.
I want the blood. Oh yeah. He's like, a
I'll eat-
vegetarian
I'm gonna
vampire.
eat bratwurst, but what I really want is Bella.
Yeah, I want the live shit.
Well, the Nome King has the same thought. He's like, what more could you want? And Blake, do you have what more he could want?
I want a fat baby. I told you this when you met me.
Yeah.
I want a fat
So
baby.
he is still on
A
the fat
nice-
Give me a
baby.
fat baby. If
Okay.
you gave me a fat baby, I wouldn't need it because I have a
He's-
conscience.
yeah.
But I want a fat
So
fucking
so it's
baby.
just if someone gives it to him, then he's like, oh okay, yeah, I'll eat it because
No,
you gave it to
but
me.
you
No, if
wouldn't-
someone gives it to him, he still won't eat it.
But that's what he
Oh.
wants. It's what he wants. He wants a nice, plump, juicy, tender, fat
Either
baby.
be a tiger or be some like kill yourself or something. I don't mean to, I
he
mean
just-
sorry, but
Yeah.
fucking I'm sick of it.
He did just try to kill himself. He said, "Make me an ornament."
Oh, that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. Okay, I can't be mad then.
But the Nome King is like, hey, lion and tiger, you're not going in that fucking room.
Are you
though.
fucking kidding
Yeah,
me?
he's
you
like,
giant.
you're gonna
klutz?
destroy everything, and then he's like, I'm just gonna release you guys back up to whatever business you have up top after this, like, and with
Yeah.
the sawhorse, because he doesn't know what the sawhorse is.
he
He thinks
keeps-
the sawhorse is furniture.
Yeah, pretty much. He keeps them stuck there until all the guesses are done, probably so
Yeah.
they won't like get help or something. I don't really
guess
know
so, yeah.
why they have to stay, but they do.
Yeah.
So the lion's like, hey, without our friends, like we have no business up on the surface. So like, I don't really care what happens to us.
No.
Yikes.
And that's just a throwaway line. Because then
yeah.
Dorothy's like, well, I'm going to go next. But TikTok says, no, as your servant, like, I can't let you go. I'm going to go first.
Scarecrow agrees. He's
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're her servant. Get in there.
The Nome King lets TikTok into the throne room. And then, like, that's it. They're just waiting for a little while after that.
Yeah, and he's puffing on his pipe, and he's like, it's too bad you've almost all made your guesses, because like I won't have anything to do but look at all my new ornaments once you guys are all done.
He's
Like,
like,
it's
"Oh,
been so fun watching you.
soon there'll be
Oh
nothing
my
to do but
God.
enjoy my new ornaments. And it's like, that's so sadistic and gross.
He's
it really
disgusting.
is. Yeah.
And Dorothy is like, it seems like you're not as honest as you're pretending to be, because you made it seem like this would be an easy game and that we would be able to guess. And, you know, you really, really put that forward.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
Well, exactly. If now we know. And now
Well,
Dorothy
But that was
knows
the thing.
too.
Dorothy already suspected him, but it's just the fact
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
Ozma
Dorothy
was like,
said,
I'm
"Do
down."
Not, yeah, she said,
Yeah.
do not take that deal.
Mhm.
But like, honestly, of course it was going to be hard. Why were you so naive to believe anything else?
Yeah.
But the Gnome King's like, oh, actually, like, it's really easy for someone who's a good guesser. I mean, I guess everyone in your party is just poor
Honestly,
guessers.
it does feel like they're kind of like. I mean, I'm not here to victim blame, but
Yeah.
They're not putting any
what are you guys
logic.
doing in
It's
there?
This chapter should have
overwhelming.
been 20 pages longer, and everyone should have had like a math to how they were choosing.
Yeah.
But it was just
Something.
they just
Oh,
go in and
Have you
die.
ever seen that movie? It was like an old 90s horror film called The Cube.
I haven't, but have you seen Monkey Bone?
Oh, let it die.
Let it die.
Or let me.
Let it die alone. But I mean, if you've ever seen The Cube, this is really giving that vibe because it's like they have to go to all these different rooms and solve these like weird puzzles to be able to get into the next room to get out
Oh.
of this. It's
It's
kind of
very
giving
that
it's almost
then.
giving Saw, but like more, I don't know, it's like more of a weird, it's not the best movie, but it's fun and it's scary.
Someone
did you
was
say it
just
was
telling
from?
me about this
Like
movie.
the 90s.
Oh, 90s.
It might have
You can
been
get away
90s.
with a lot in the 90s.
Oh
in
yeah,
terms
the
of, like,
acting was
fun,
horrible,
so.
but I had a great time. I had a great time.
All right, everybody,
So-
get back to us about your view of The Cube.
So Dorothy asks the Gnome King, she's like, okay, what's TikTok doing right now? And the Gnome King's like, he's just kind of standing still in the middle of the room. He still has one guest, but he's been standing still for a really long time.
It's interesting because this just shows us like whatever the Gnome King's like magic stuff is, like he just can tell what's going on in there, which we already know.
He can see
like,
you.
But yeah, he's watching somehow. He's just sitting there on his
Oh.
throne, like watching
He's
TikTok.
Santa Claus.
Yeah.
Ew.
Ha ha ha. He he he.
Ho, ho, ho.
But Dorothy is like, oh shit, he must have run down. Like I forgot to wind him up fresh this morning.
Where the fuck is Belina?
Belina's
She's still
hiding.
sleeping.
She's still sleeping. She's got to let some people know what she's heard.
Belina-
I
Belina's still in
know.
hiding.
She doesn't know. It's down there. It's like pretty quiet, you know. She's not. Well, I mean, unless someone shrieks
doesn't
or
have an
something.
alarm.
So Dorothy and the Gnome King are kind of like, okay, here's what we'll do. Dorothy, go in and wind him up. Let him have his last guess. And then you're already in there. You'll just go next.
Go
Yeah,
next.
which is already assuming he's gonna guess wrong, which is
Yes,
fucked up, but
which
very
is fucked up.
likely.
And
No,
Scare-
where's Belina?
Scarecrow's like, hey, it's my turn next.
I read
Oh,
that.
so he wants to go
Okay,
next.
I read that more as like Dorothy. No, you're not gonna go next. I'll go next. But then Dorothy's like, well, I don't want to be out here alone when you're gone.
I mean, frankly,
which is fair.
that yeah, she does not want to be
Yeah.
alone with the fucking creepy uncle.
Yeah.
Bad touch, Gnome King.
Bad touch.
Also, but also, that does actually make a lot of sense because like Dorothy's not even an Ozian. She's not even supposed to be there. You know?
Yeah.
Like she shouldn't have to go in.
Well, and
but she
before-
chose to go. So
When,
Yeah.
when the Tin Woodman went in, Dorothy was like, well, I'll go next. And he was like, no, you can't go. I'm the commander. So,
that's
like,
true.
you
Scarecrow's
know.
been trying to get in there.
Yeah.
He just wants out, man.
he
He's
probably
done.
does at this
He's
point.
like, I lost my lover. What else do I need
Yeah,
to live
right.
for? I'm done.
But Dorothy wins the argument and she goes.
No.
Yeah. So she walks in, and she is, as everyone, amazed and awed at how beautiful everything is.
Yeah.
She makes her way through. She's enjoying herself, kind of, and eventually she finds TikTok. She just finds him up, or she finds him and she winds him up.
Okay.
And he thanks her, and he's like, "Oh man, like." I wish that my guessing was made of clockwork because I definitely do not know how to fucking do this. And I'm gonna be turned
made
into an
of
ornament.
math and logic. I
Yeah,
don't.
there's no
I
way.
don't guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Dorothy's just like, just make your next choice. Like, I'll see what you turn into, and then I'll choose you, and then you'll be back.
And then we
have
can
more
both
guesses.
choose.
Yeah.
Great idea.
Great idea.
Honestly, because then she lives.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
like, just guess.
Exactly,
Follow your
yeah,
heart,
she-
guess. I'm right
Oh,
here. I'll
that's
bring
a
you
good
back.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he touches something. He disappears in a flash.
But it doesn't go into the same
Yeah,
spot,
he
so she doesn't
Yeah.
know.
It literally, like, Dorothy, she's like, okay, maybe something in the room changed, but she wasn't paying attention to the whole room at once.
It
It could have been
happens-
something behind her that all of a
Could have
sudden
been in another room.
It's
Yeah.
so
It
fast.
could have been in another room.
And he could be the size of a thimble, or he
Yeah.
could be a coat rack. Like she
Yeah.
has no idea. It happens so fast.
Yeah, you'd have to
He's
memorize
gone.
everything.
You don't freeze where you are. You freeze
That's
in the collection.
right. I want to die.
Yeah, and Dorothy does too for a minute. Like, she doesn't like actually cry, but she has a little cry moment where she's like, God, like, I'm just gonna be a knickknack. Everyone's gonna be a knickknack forever. This is not the way I wanted this to
Well,
go.
and she's
She was
like-
trying to go to Australia.
Right.
Like,
I'm
she
trying to
was
go
on
to
another
Australia to see
mission.
my cousins. But she's being very optimistic about it. She's like, okay,
As
at
always.
least she's like, okay, I have to do this. I'm in here. But
Yeah.
also, no one has like screamed out in pain. No one has been like murder, fire, torture, like when they transform. So like it's probably painless. And I just have to hope that my friends who are out in the throne room will be able to get me out of here, but at least it's not going to hurt.
Yeah.
I also want to add a note here, which is to remind everyone that in book 1, Dorothy wanted to take a China princess home so that she could live on her shelf forever.
I was thinking about
Oh
that too.
my god.
And I'm like, well, Dorothy, how do you think now? Do you want to live on the Gnome King shelf forever?
Oh
like,
my god, that
but-
is an amazing
and she
comparison.
doesn't. And so it's like kind of character development, kind of like, okay, you're writing a book 5 years
wonder if
later.
she-
Well,
Yeah.
I wish it was character development in that like it said like
Had, like,
Dorothy thought
it
of
made
her
her
time
think
in the
of
days
it.
of China
Yeah.
country.
Exactly.
But so Dorothy's like wondering like, are Aunt Em and Uncle Hen like ever gonna know that I'm living out my days as a statuette in the Gnome King's palace?
they're
It's
not.
like, no, they think you died at sea.
Bitch, they don't
honey.
even know that you're
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
fucking fairy country.
The
They don't
last
know
time,
what the
the
fuck
last
is
time
going
anyone
on.
saw you, you said, "Everyone, stay down! It's a storm. I'm going up." And, like,
Yeah.
that's the last thing anyone saw.
All
of
the
you.
evidence
you're
is that
dead.
she's on the sea.
You know what I would assume? Dead.
Yeah, I would
Lost
too.
at sea.
And
gone
she may be
forever.
dead here too.
Yeah, I mean, because she looks around, she's like, "There is no way to make an
Yeah.
informed guess."
Same as Ozma. She's like, there's literally nothing I can do. Like, okay. So she kind of guesses like randomly.
Wish Bellina had a motherfucking alarm so she
I
could
know.
wake herself up and let some people know before they went in there.
So
Lax ass bitch.
Dorothy, no, it's okay
No,
because you
I'm
are
mad
rightfully.
too.
You're,
I'm mad.
Your rage
She
is
has some
righteous.
information, and you know what? My first thing, if I heard that shit, the first thing I would do was go find everyone and tell them that.
Yeah.
Even when I have the littlest amount of tea,
But she
I'm like,
can't. She
I gotta
couldn't.
tell
Well,
people.
that's true. She couldn't get out of the throne room though. After she
Well,
was
and
in there
also-
locked, she couldn't have gotten out. But she could have fucking
Yeah.
woken up early. She's
She-
a chicken for God's
She
sake.
Figure
had
it
to
out.
wait until morning when everyone came back.
Yeah.
And like they've been
Yeah.
back for like a couple of hours now. But I mean, Bellina's a woman of routine. She's a strict routine.
Yeah,
true, that's
she is
true.
a hen.
Yeah.
so we
So-
can't get that mad.
Dorothy like touches an alabaster bowl and says, "Ev." Nothing happens. She's like, okay, one guess down.
Yeah.
And then she touches the image of a purple kitten on the mantle.
Purple.
She says Ev, and the kitten disappears, and in its place is a boy with the beautiful fair hair and dazzling eyes, and far off in the distance, a bell rings.
Yeah, she just like hears like an iPhone go ding.
Yeah, like
somewhere in the distance.
far off,
Yeah.
yeah.
And the little boy's a Nazi. I mean,
No! No! He's like one of the kids from The Sound of Music.
right. The
A
Nazi
Nazi.
Yeah.
one?
But no, he's just a beautiful, perfect little boy, perfect in every way.
Perfect in every way. Like very Aryan, very like
Yeah,
pure of
like blonde
blood.
hair, blue
All I
eyes.
said was beautiful fair hair,
But,
everyone else put something else in there.
Like, you know how like when babies are born, they come out screaming and crying because the most like traumatic thing ever is happening to them?
Yeah.
It's very similar because he's like, "Ah, where am I? Who
Yeah.
are you?
He's like,
What the fuck is going on?"
Question about
Yes.
this whole ornament thing. So, depending how long you are an ornament, do you age?
So I think no,
You
but,
would stay yourself forever, is my understanding.
but there's so what we're about to get some information that might help inform that like thought process.
Okay.
Because the boy's like, okay, where am I? What the fuck? And Dorothy's like, oh, like yes, I did it, and now I won't have to be an ornament. You don't have to be an ornament.
She's like, I did it. He's like, did what?
Yeah. She's like, now you don't have to be a purple kitten. And he's like, there's no such thing as a purple kitten. And she's like, well, you were one. And he's like,
Yeah.
You're
"I'm-"
welcome.
Yeah, he's like, I'm Evering, one of the princes of Ev. And she's like, it doesn't matter.
Actually, I could care less about that. I want to find my friends.
Yeah, but he doesn't remember anything since he was transformed. He remembers that he was like, well, I got sold to the Gnome King, and then I don't remember anything after that. So that means basically while you're transformed, you're just dead.
You're frozen.
If you're
Yeah,
never...
nothing-
You're not even alive.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, no one's supposed to come back from that. So
Yeah.
it makes sense.
But it's kind of like they're coming back from the dead. But it makes me think...
is that what would have happened to
To Tip, yeah, if Mommy turned him into a statue, I had that in my
Probably.
We
notes.
could assume
Well, because
that.
the book was like Tip was like, I don't want to be a statue. I don't want to live out my days in the garden. But
Tip,
would
you'd
he
be
have
dead.
even, would he have even been present?
yeah,
he'd
would
have
have
been
even
dead.
been
Yeah.
aware?
I think that. I think he would have
But-
been basically dead like this. Similar magic.
I agree. Well, Dorothy's like, don't worry. I'm here to help you and your siblings and your mother. So she like takes Evering by the hand.
Yeah.
She takes him around the palace to make the rest of her guesses.
And think about what you guess. Think about the thing, the color, the shape.
So it's pretty.
The animal. Just think of it all, so you make an educated next
and
some
you're
guess.
educated
absolutely
guesses.
right.
You stupid
she's
bitch.
she's very like excited because she got one. Like 30 people haven't been able to get one.
Yeah.
She just got one.
Yeah.
So it's like very frantic. It's very like scary and exciting and
Yeah,
happy
yeah.
and sad. So she actually like really like she kind of hastily makes the rest of her choices, but the rest of her choices don't really matter because like she got one.
She's alive.
So she gets to leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're all wrong.
They're all
She
wrong.
didn't get a single another one right. But she
You're not
saved
gonna
one.
pick another purple item.
I know. Well, but you know what?
I'm sorry. I don't know if
No,
I would, but
I
I'm just
agree.
like I feel like if I picked one, and
You're not gonna pick another purple item.
this has been a very traumatizing episode.
It's
So
fair.
like
I think I've cried 3 times.
I cried 3 times too. Yeah, I have.
But she's happy because she saved one. She saved one of them. She's like, okay, if nothing else, I got this one kid, and he's little. He's like he's like 6. But she's like, he is the ruler of Ev now, if that's what it takes. But I'm alive, he's alive, and we're getting the fuck out of here.
Yeah.
And so they make their way back to the entrance. And
They have to literally retrace their steps because
Yeah,
it's like
'cause
a
it's so
cavern
much.
of treasure.
Okay.
And that is how we end chapter 14. Dorothy tries to be brave, and Blake, what would you call that?
Okay, I want you guys to vote on this one because
Ooh, I'd love
I
that.
went. It's both of them are like a cat thing.
Uh-huh.
I just couldn't decide which one is better. So I'm between a perfect guess or a clawless guess.
Ooh, I like the perfect.
Yeah, perfect.
Okay,
Yeah.
see that felt like the least original, but it.
We
Felt
love a
But for
purr
reason.
moment.
Yeah, that's a good purr moment.
Mm-hmm.
Chapter 15. Belina frightens the Gnome King. This is a flashback moment.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like, rewind to right when Dorothy enters the palace.
I may have said once or twice in like every episode, Elfrinkbaum took a writing class.
Yes, we're jumping around.
But the Gnome King and the Scarecrow are in the throne room alone because all the animals are outside, I think.
Okay.
Are they? Or I
No,
guess there is no outside.
they're just in the background.
Okay, yeah, they're just not. We're not.
And the
supposed to
Scarecrow
worry
or
about
the
them.
Sawhorse's furniture, so.
But the Gnome King is like, oh, very good. The Machine Man has been turned into a very neat ornament.
And he notes that soon after, Dorothy's going to start guessing. And soon after, she'll become part of the collection. So he's like banking on everyone fucking just like getting turned in.
Little does he know what has
little does he
already
know.
happened.
What had happened was you told Belina everything. So the Scarecrow is sitting solemnly, and he's just like, oh my God, I'm going to lose all of my friends, and then I'm going to go and die right after them.
Yeah.
Which, like, I thought shit was already real yesterday, but I feel like for a Scarecrow, it's getting real right now.
I feel like also it's different, like sitting and being the last one, like waiting, you know? Like,
Yeah.
Just
And cause-
survivor's
because you
something
guilt.
need
about-
everyone.
and something about losing Dorothy.
Also that, yeah.
I feel like that for
She's
some
not
reason.
even supposed to be there. You've saved her life already.
Exactly.
Like, you
She's not
already
supposed to be
saved
there.
her.
She's not.
Yeah.
She's not an Ozian. She's not a part of this.
Poor baby.
She was just in a. She got fucking trekked there accidentally by some motherfucking coop, and then got stuck in a dungeon. And then you guys happened to be there at the same time.
Frankly,
it's
if,
actually
I mean,
insane.
if I was Dorothy, and I was like rescued by happenstance by my friends, and like the queen was like, oh, I forgot there was even someone in my jail. Like, yeah, have her. Like, if the Ozians were like, okay, so you can either go with your chicken and figure out your way home, or you can come with us. We're going to war. I'd probably be like, yeah, I guess I'll go with you guys to war. Like,
Oh, really?
I'm with familiar faces as opposed to like being alone
I
in a
might-
strange land where I was in a
I guess if
hole.
I'm-
I was in a hole hiding from wheelers for like a day and a half.
I might
Yeah.
wait quietly there for them to get back, because if they're going to win, they'll come back. If they're going to lose, I don't want to go with them.
That's true. Stay at the palace. Why not?
Yeah,
See,
I'd
if
be
I
like-
wasn't Dorothy, but I feel like if you're deciding for Dorothy, like
Deciding
as
for
her,
Dorothy, this makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense. She
Yeah.
would fucking go
Because
because
she already killed 2 witches.
She already was like,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes you just got to do what you got to do. But with me, no. No.
So with Dorothy, yes, but with me,
I'm not going to war.
No.
With who?
Yeah.
Not me.
The
Well,
Gnome
I
King?
guess
Never
I
heard
would
of him.
like-
Never heard of him.
I
We don't
don't
have
know.
beef. I'll move on.
I guess just like war in Oz is so frivolous that like if I was Dorothy, I would know that and I'd be like, okay, yeah.
Dorothy's
like-
never seen a war in Oz.
Well, she's been part of her own little tiny army, I guess. And like,
yeah, I mean,
her
she did,
life was
they did
threatened
defeat
at
a lot of
points.
weird, a certain amount of animals.
Winning was never like
40
hard.
wolves, 40 bees.
It was mostly kill an animal,
Yeah.
which I have more brains than.
No,
you
but
know?
that's pretty. But the thing is, she was asleep during that time.
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah.
yeah, okay,
She was-
okay.
She
I
was
repeat,
eating nuts and berries.
I repeat, I'm going with the Ozians, and I'm dying on that hill.
Okay.
But so all of a sudden, Scarecrow's depressed, sitting there in the throne room. All of a sudden, he hears, "Would you like to join me?"
Well, what I will say is not only does the Scarecrow hear this, but something quite startles the Gnome King. And Blake, what would we say that is?
The Gnome King nearly jumps out of his seat, and he's like, "What the fuck was that?"
Yeah. And the Scarecrow is just like, chill out. It's our friend Belina.
That's Belina, dude.
So Belina emerges from within the throne or whatever. And the Gnome King is like, oh, what makes you think you have the right to make a sound like that? And Belina's like, I just laid my egg.
I'm cackling because I laid my egg, fool.
And the
That's
Gnome
right.
King is furious all of a sudden. He's like, how dare you lay an egg in the throne room?
Like it's the most disrespectful thing she could
And
have done.
Belina's like, I lay eggs wherever I happen to be. You like, I mean, he imprisoned her there. She has to do that.
She
every
has to
morning.
lay her eggs.
No offense. If someone brought a chicken into my house and that chicken laid an egg on my floor, I'd be like, ew, blah.
No, that's true. But are you keeping these people here for
Yeah.
long periods of time to turn them
That's
into
true. They're not
ornaments?
my prisoners.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I thought.
If
That's
you're
what I thought.
asking the hen you took as your prisoner has the egg, okay.
Yeah. If they're my prisoners, like that's just like that's one of the prices you
Expect
pay.
something's
Just like
gonna happen.
just like the
Yeah.
fact that they're gonna have to like pee and poo on themselves.
Yeah.
Exactly.
no.
They have to use the restroom. They have to eat, and they have to do certain things. So expect.
but- So the Gnome King's obviously pissed because she drops this egg, and he's like, "Do you realize what you've done? Eggs are poison." And Belina's like, "Do not fucking call my eggs poison."
oh yeah, she's proud. She's proud.
Yeah.
She loves her eggs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, well, where
She's
is
like,
it?
every time she's laid an egg, she's like, "Why isn't anyone eating that?"
Yeah, she is. Yeah, she has been confused.
I
about
laid
that.
really
Scarecrow-
good eggs.
Scarecrow literally has her last egg in his pocket
No
because she
one's-
was like, do not leave behind.
Well,
Yeah,
everyone's
someone's
dead now,
gonna eat
so
that.
it
Someone's
doesn't
gonna
even
need to eat
matter.
Yeah. Well, and so she's like, well, isn't someone going to get this one? Where is it? And the Gnome King's like, go fucking get it. And the Scarecrow's like, well, you know, I have a little collection going, so I'll just go grab it. But Belina says, stop.
And she tells the Scarecrow, "Do not pick up that egg until the Gnome King agrees to allow me to enter the palace and make my guesses." She's like, "Everyone else got to make their guess. The option was never offered to me. I want my turn to do it. Leave that egg right there until he complies."
And the Gnome King says, pshaw.
Okay.
I know.
Talk to you.
P-S-H-A-W. I don't know why he says pshaw. But after a little round of insults, the Gnome King is like, you're a little chicken. You can't fucking guess my guesses. And she's like, then let me try. And he's
Yeah.
like, okay, whatever. Fine. Just have him get the egg and you can go in and have your fucking little guesses. You
Yeah.
stupid little hen. You foul ass bitch.
And in
She's
the back,
gonna make her guesses.
Oh, yeah.
Let me tell you.
and in the back of his head, he's like, "I really look forward to making you an ornament.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
disgusting, poisonous." So the Gnome King is like, "How are you even gonna touch the objects?" And she's like, I'll stick out my leg, I'll touch it with my claws, and I'll say Ev. I'm talking to you. I know
Yeah.
English. I'll say Ev.
That's what everyone else has been doing.
Yeah.
Why are you asking if I'll do it any different?
So
Bitch.
after that, he's like, fine, you can go in after the Scarecrow. Great.
Yeah.
And
she's
just
like,
then-
"Okay, Scarecrow, you can pick up the egg now." Belina
Oh,
is
yeah.
running the.
She runs
Belina
the show.
is.
She runs
Yeah,
the show.
She is.
Mhm.
She is mother. If we want to talk about that.
Yes.
Okay,
But we
fine.
don't.
She's mother.
She is mother if we have to pick one.
So all of a sudden, though, a bell rings, And the Gnome King is like, by Rickety, she's done it. Dorothy has just in this moment found the first prince of Ev.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yes.
He's like,
so
she's
that
broken
bell
my
rang
enchantments.
somehow. Yeah, he's like kind of pissed, but he's also like, well, damn, I can't
it
believe
might have
she
happened.
did it.
Yeah.
So the Scarecrow's like, wait. That means like she's coming back to us, right? And he's like, yeah, like I'm a man of my word. I said if you guess right, you survive. So they're like Bellina and the Scarecrow are like, oh my God, Dorothy's coming back. Like they're very happy.
Yeah. And sure enough, Dorothy comes. She emerges from the door, embraces the Scarecrow. The little prince, who she's like tugging by the hand, like she hugs the Scarecrow, and then the prince like sees the Scarecrow's like painted face, like with this big smile, and he's like, "Oh, what the fuck is that?"
Yeah. The Scarecrow like
not
tries to
embraced.
hug him,
Yeah.
and the prince is like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah. Yeah, the little prince finds him quite horrifying.
Well,
But
you know,
the
they don't have
Scarecrow-
boundaries.
Yeah. But the Scarecrow's jazzed. He's like, oh shit, like, okay, Dorothy found one. Like,
There's hope.
I can probably go in there and find one, you know? Like, why
Yeah,
not?
He's feeling super optimistic. So he really takes his time, like with his guesses, and in the end, he doesn't make any correct
fails.
guesses. And he's turned into a solid gold card receiver.
It's just a tray. It's like an ornamental tray where, from what I could tell from an internet
Or
search,
you would put like a greeting card into.
well, I viewed a bunch of online for sale listings of antique Art Nouveau card collectors. So it's basically like from what I saw, an ornamental dish where you'd put a piece of mail or like a letter, like the side.
Gotcha.
Think like
it's like an as you thing, like an as you go dish.
yeah, exactly for cards. But anyway, I looked at it because I was like, "What the fuck is that?" Okay, 1920. But yeah, so he's solid gold, and the Gnome King is like, "Okay, well, you know what? Everyone can go home. Like, you know what? Like,
Yeah.
Dorothy, you made it out. You got a prince. Just take the chicken." And Bellina's like, "Hey."
Bellina's like, I'm gonna go.
Yeah, she's like, "Actually,
Thank
it's
you.
my turn now."
Yes.
Yeah.
He literally forgot about her. He's like, "Oh, that's right." And he's like, "Look, chicken, I'm not gonna make you go if you don't want to. Like you
He's
saw
like,
what
"I'll be
happened
generous."
here. Just go home."
He thinks
Yeah.
he's being generous.
Yeah, like he doesn't even care anymore. And she's like, "No, like I want them." And Dorothy's like, "Don't fucking do that, Bellina.
Yeah.
I told Ozma not to, and now look where we are."
Dorothy is like, I am here by the grace of Jesus Christ
Like
himself.
luck.
Like, do not go in there. It's terrible. Don't do it. And Bellina's like, don't worry. Like, I'll
she
be
hasn't
fine.
told, and she keeps her cards close.
Yeah, she's not.
Yeah.
She's not getting any leaks in her
Yeah,
data.
yeah.
And she's basically like, don't call me a chicken. You know? And
Yes.
and Dorothy's like, okay, but like you haven't been a chicken since like you've grown up. Like you're in Ev now. You're in a fairy country. You're not just a chicken anymore. Like,
Yeah,
you're
the
my
s-
friend.
The
like
stakes are
don't
high.
go.
Oh, that's kind of
I'm
sweet.
like I'm crying for the
I know.
fourth time.
I'm like, she really does care about Bellina, and she does not want her to go. She saw her in that cockfight and hoped that,
but
She
that was better for
survived a
her.
storm in the sea.
that's,
and that's
she was
frankly
hanging on by her damn
horrifying.
talons.
Yeah, she was like, she had her beak and both her talons engaged for like 8 hours overnight while Dorothy
But-
slept quietly in the corner.
Bellina.
Bellina's basically like, shut up and quit your
Yeah,
worry.
she's like, "Hey kid, don't you worry about me. I'm not saying goodbye because I'm coming back."
Yeah, she's like, I'm gonna be back in like 2 hours.
She does,
Yeah.
she's like confident.
So she struts into the palace, just clucking.
She's
and
clutting and
it-
clatting.
her clucking is like visibly frightening the Gnome King, which like I think she's doing it on
Yeah.
purpose. Like she's like, "Bagak!" And he's like, "Oh, ah!" No more eggs.
It makes him
please.
think of the eggs. And that is the dramatic end of chapter 15. Bellina frightens the Gnome King. And Blake, what would you call that?
So I couldn't think of a good name for it. So I
It's
chose,
already pretty good.
yeah, it really is. So I chose this really only for the sake of you two. And it's eggs, eggs, eggs. All I want is eggs.
Everybody, Ginger
Oh my God.
Minge.
Have you heard of Ginger Minge?
Doing a John Waters parody on RuPaul's Drag Race. I highly recommend.
I guess if it's the Gnome King though, it's eggs, eggs, eggs. I don't want your eggs.
Yeah, I don't want no eggs.
Chapter 16. Purple green, and gold.
So Belina's feeling a little cock.
She's prancing.
Yeah.
She is prancing into the palace.
She walks into the room passing out $100 bills in the fridge.
Yeah.
Confidence.
She is signing little like signatures, but it's just her footprint. It's
Oh
like
my
a little
God,
claw.
yeah.
But
She's like
somehow it
wearing
also looks like
she's
the
wearing a
letter B.
feather
It's still a
boa,
signature
but it's like
somehow.
her
It's her
own
own
feathers.
I would pay good money for that.
She's
honestly.
leaving an egg with every step. She is her sharp little eyes are on the lookout. She is looking at every single thing in the room like a computer. Frankly, the coffee got me up a little bit where I feel like that's how I am right now. Imagine this, but Belina.
All right, Mr. Robot, settle down.
Very well.
But so like White's saying, like instead of searching right off the bat and just like touching everything she knows is probably right, Belina gets an entire lay of the land. Belina inspects every single room of the apartments
Smart girl.
before she touches anything.
And you know what she finds? There are exactly 10 purple objects.
She counted
So
every purple
knows.
thing she saw.
She's like, there's only 10 of them. There's already one out there. So the other 9 kids and the queen are still here.
So Belina's like, okay, I found the purple things. I counted them out. There's only 10 purple things in this whole place. How long it took her to do that? No idea.
Who knows?
But she counted 10 purple things. And she's like, I'll deal with the green after. Like right now, let's get the royal family. And then I'll go through the green and get the
Because there's
Aussies.
still more people that need to guess. Right?
Oh, it's just. Oh, no. Oh, well, yeah, it's Scarecrow. Wait, no,
No,
he
no,
did
he
transform.
did turn
No,
into
yeah.
There's no one
something.
else.
So she's
to
the
guess.
last one.
That's why the Gnome King was going to send them home.
Okay.
So, I mean, obviously, she goes around and she tries to locate all of the royals. So she starts with this purple stool that she located in one of the front rooms. And she reaches her little leg out and her claws touch it. And she says, Av.
And it transforms into a tall, beautiful woman. Beautiful blonde woman. And she's like, who speaks to me?
Blue eyes.
Yeah. Well, and Belina is like, she's like, I'm Belina, like I'm a hen, and I just saved you from the slavery. And immediately the queen is like, thank you for your kind gesture. Where are my children? Are they okay? Which is so sweet.
And Belina's like pecking at a bug that happens to be crawling on the back of the chair she's on. And she's like, oh no, your kids are safe.
Yeah. She's like,
Yeah.
they can't even wiggle in their current state.
They've been enchanted, just like you were. You don't remember, so there's no point in talking to you about it. Come on,
Let's
let's
move
go.
on.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the queen is just like, no, my children. She's like, no, they're fine. They're
What?
fine. Just come on. And Belina's like showing her around. And she's like, okay, like, come on, let's go find another purple thing. And as they're walking, Belina looks and she spies a green grasshopper. And she pounces on it.
She's like, oh, these grasshoppers, they're quick.
She
You have to get on a grasshopper real fast.
She's trying to catch it.
She loves, that's her favorite snack. She gets it in her
Oh.
mouth. She's about to swallow it, and she's biting on it, and she's like, this doesn't feel really quite right.
She coughs it up. She's like, I
Yeah.
should have known.
Before it could go down her throat, she's like, it's just another ornament. But tooey. And she spits it out.
Yeah, she's like, there's no
Spits on
grass
it.
here. Of course, that's not a grasshopper. Anyway,
And then she just moves on.
move on. She goes to the next.
She
purple
literally
ornament.
almost swallowed Ozma whole.
Yeah.
Oh, she never would have broken that down.
In the book, it says like this would have been if Ozma was an actual grasshopper, that would have been the last we'd ever seen of her. But thankfully, Belina spit her out.
And honestly, it would have been the last we'd seen of Belina as well. That would have killed a head.
Yeah, that would have been pretty painful.
But so
an
Belina
egg
goes.
comes out, and they all come out the same hole on a chicken. So actually, maybe it would be fine.
Yeah, maybe she'd be able to do
I
it
don't
well.
know.
Me
I
neither.
don't know.
The way it would
Her body
digest
couldn't
doesn't seem
process
right.
it. Her intestines are way too small for
Yeah,
that.
that shit would cut it up.
Okay, enough. So she goes to the next purple ornament, and when she touches it, she says Ev, and it turns into a little blonde girl, blue eyes, Aryan, if you will.
Okay.
And the queen cries, Ivanka Trump. No, just kidding. But her name is Ivana. So,
oh, interesting.
and she hugs her and she kisses her all over the face. Belina's like, she like has a nice little moment where she's kind of like cursing the Gnome King, and she's like, "Well, am I a good guesser now, motherfucker?"
Yeah.
Like, basically.
She wanted to prove a point, and I 100% understand and I support.
Well, do you want to hear the point that she made? Let's name them. Evrose, Ivana, Evelia, Evirene, Evedna, and then the princes, Evrob, Evington, Evardo, Evroland, and then already in the throne room is Evring. So I'm just gonna go ahead and say Evrose, Ivana, Evella, Evirene, Evedna, Evrob, Evington, Evardo, Evroland, Evring. And also their dad's name was Evaldo.
Evaldo.
Let's not
Evaldo.
forget.
So here's the thing. Evardo is the oldest. He's very serious. He's kind of stoic. I'm assuming he's
12.
gorgeous. No,
Oh.
he's older than the others, and he's
I was about to ask if he was
he's
hot.
older than the others, and he's the rightful heir to the throne of Ev. Anyway, after rescuing the royal family, Belina is like, okay, let's go for the green ornaments. And right off the bat, I mean, would you agree, Wyatt? She gets like all 26 officers and the private just immediately.
Wait, I thought she only had a certain amount of guesses.
No, so every time someone died, one guess was added.
Yeah. So it's like she can get everyone who is lost.
Oh. Yes!
Right?
Belina! She's saving everyone.
So my first note after the list of names is then Belina goes and transforms all 26 officers and the private. So she gets
And the private.
And the
everything.
bride.
Everything
Forget
that's an
about him.
emerald. But then
Hopefully private first, frankly.
well, she would have no way of knowing.
Yeah.
But she's like, well, fuck, where's Ozma? And then I don't even have who says it, but one of the Evs is like, oh, like, what about that grasshopper?
Well, okay, so if you recall, she pounced on the grasshopper when it was just her and the queen.
Yeah.
And so, like,
Oh, I guess, yeah.
Belina and all of the officers are searching for like actually like a really long time, probably 15 to 20 minutes, and the queen has finally like had enough time to like hug her children and sob that she's like, hello little friend, what about the grasshopper? Could that be for whence you seek? And yes,
Belina's
and
pissed at herself.
Belina's like, how the fuck did I not think of that?
Yeah, she's like,
Yeah.
I chewed on that.
She's like, that was inside of me.
Yeah, she's like, it was in my gullet.
Like, not to make Belina feel bad, but we were all thinking it.
Yeah. And so she goes back, she finds it, she says Ev, and of course the grasshopper turns into Ozma, who goes and greets the queen in a royal fashion. She does all the little pleasantries and greets her, and then she's like, where's the Scarecrow and Tin Woodman?
Which is so weird because like that implies that she knows the order that everyone went in. She knows whether they failed or succeeded.
I think
like
it
she
just-
doesn't know that Dorothy already went in and came out.
I think that she's just asking about the two people she's known for years. Like no one else in the park. Like sure, the Sawhorse.
Well, she doesn't know if the Sawhorse has gone in. She doesn't know.
Well,
if
she
the
doesn't. That's true.
well-
But she is. I from my reading, I'm thinking she wakes up from being dead and is like, okay, there are two people who have like
those are her friends
in
and colleagues.
this group.
Yeah.
Yeah, like who and also she trusts them. She knows,
And
she
they've
needs
been there
them.
when she was Tip and
Yeah.
when she was now Ozma.
They've known
That's
her
true.
forever. So that's what I read out of
Okay.
it. Because she cares about everyone,
Yeah.
obviously, at some point. But
That's
it's like,
true.
especially when she looks around and she's like, okay,
She's
well,
like,
they're
I
not
need help.
here.
Yeah,
Like,
I need help. Get my people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so yeah, she asked that to Belina, and Belina's like, "Well, I know that Scarecrow and TikTok are made of solid gold because like I overheard that conversation. The Nome King, all he said about the Tin Woodman was that he was turned into something funny. So like, I don't know what that is, but let's all search for gold, and we will find the TikTok and and the Scarecrow.
Yeah. And they do. It doesn't take that long, really. Like, they're like, oh, here's two things of solid gold. They transform them back, or Belina transforms them back. Great. They're back. Okay, cool. And so they're like, well, fuck. Like, what's funny? Like, what the fuck is funny? And Ozma's like, well, you know what? Let's go ask the Nome King to reveal our friend, because he wasn't very nice and he actually tricked us in a way, and it's actually really mean.
Yeah, she like thinks that they owe him one, which I really don't see I can see how the request or how like the trade was more difficult than they might have thought it was.
Yeah.
But I don't think it was unfair, and I don't think that the Gnome King did them dirty. I think they acted way too quickly.
I think they should have asked more questions.
They agreed to
about
the
deal.
terms without knowing anything.
Read the fine print, bitch.
Yes.
But if you think about it in a political context, where like, are you bargaining in good faith? Like, are you coming to the table being straight, or are you tricking someone? Because he portrayed things and acted in such a way that he knew what he was doing, and he successfully not defrauded them, but like coerced them into doing this thing. Not coerced.
Honestly, I know we're like short on time, but I would argue that he didn't actually defraud them or trick them in any way. He offered them a deal and they didn't ask any follow-up questions. He never said, well, I only have 2 or 3 knickknacks. See if you can pick them. He just said,
That's the thing.
Pick the knickknacks.
They didn't ask any questions. Like, my first question would be like, well, how many ornaments do you have?
After you
and if
just
he
saw,
didn't want to answer that, then I'd be a little sketched out about continuing.
Yeah.
Right. Like, you just saw how big his army is. Let's figure out how big his treasure trove is, honey.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That was a little frustrating to me. I just feel like Ozma just like sold her whole army out for nothing.
So Ozma is just like upset with the Gnome King. She's like, yeah, like he tricked us, but like, did he really trick them? We don't know. But he's just mean. So she's like, you know what? Let's just go back to the front and confront him. And so they do. They kind of like retrace their steps back to the front of the palace. The door just opens as it does. And so they're like, okay, great. Even though I didn't know that was the rule. Could they have always gone back to the door and it just would have opened?
No, she rescued like 25 people. So when you get a rescue, you're allowed to come back. You're not allowed to come back regardless.
Oh, so
but she still had one guest left. I was thinking she had to exhaust her guesses.
Yeah, let's say you didn't make all your guesses and they were all wrong. Would you still be able to leave?
Can you imagine? Oh, I guess they're all wrong.
I guess you don't have to make all of them. But I mean, if you did make all of them, you're still safe. So there's no reason not to.
But they want that one last guess, I guess, because they want to say, hey, we didn't use our last guess. That's a good bargaining chip, I guess.
That's true.
Yeah, true.
Well, yeah, like we didn't use our last guess, so give it to us. Like, I don't know if it's that great of a bargaining chip. But they approach the doors, and like going back into the throne room, they realize that the Gnome King's entire army that he showed to them earlier is standing outside the door waiting for them. Just like rows and rows and rows of gnomes.
All in armor, their headlamps are shining, their axes are raised, ready
That's not
to
part of the
fucking
deal.
strike. Well, the Gnome King is just sitting on his throne, and he's not laughing, he's not smiling,
It's not funny anymore.
he's not doing anything. His face is contorted into a look of rage that was extremely dreadful to behold.
Yeah, they just walked into the lion's den.
And that is where we're going to leave off for today's episode. And that is also the end.
Another cliffhanger. Oh my God.
Welcome to Oz Hour, Hannah. Keep
Yeah.
up, sweetheart.
We're always on the cliffs, especially at the end of chapter 16, purple, green, and gold. Blake, what would you call it?
Call that. Never take a gnome for granite.
I love that.
Thank you for listening to Oz Hour. Please join us next time when we continue with chapter 17, The Scarecrow Wins the Fight.
Oz Hour, created and hosted by Blake Stone and Wyatt Swingham. Co-hosted by Hannah Aguirre. Audio production by Charlie Johnson. Theme music written and performed by Rudy Klobus. Cover art by Valentin Lucas.
You said the name right. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Oz Hour Podcast for the latest on everything Oz.